across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of breaking news, challenging views and dynamic debate. Get stuck in, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Monday, November the 17th. Here's what's coming up. The latest hopeless Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, came out all guns blazing with a weapons-grade fighting talk and her no-nonsense list of hardline measures to finally solve the migrant crisis. Trouble is, despite her stirring speech in the Commons today, like the rest of Labour's loser MPs, Shabs is obsessed with human rights and, therefore, will never leave the European Convention on Human Rights. As a result, everything she proposes, much of which is sensible and should, in an ideal world, be instigated, cannot possibly work. As long as Britain remains subordinate to the European Court of Human Rights, this government cannot, in the end, make its own sovereign decisions. So, game over before Shabana even starts. Isn't that special? 0344 499 1000. And there's another problem, the intractable parliamentary roadblock of left-wing Labour backbenchers who will not vote through, for example, the confiscation of migrants' jewellery and valuables. In a month of Sundays, they won't vote for that. Nor will they green-light the removal of automatic welfare payments, the right to bring over spouses and families, or preventing possible citizenship for 20 years. The massed ranks of Labour's lefties simply will not allow Shabana's crackdown. So, how is it going to happen? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, questions need to be asked about the Home Secretary herself, whose track record is one of virtue signalling support for the lying grifters who pretend they're escaping war and torture, and Keir Starmer's right-hand man, Secretary of the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, who stated on national TV that the majority of cross-channel small boaters were women, babies and children. Simply not true. 75% of them are young men, most of whom come their way into the UK purely for economic reasons. Not forgetting the Green Party's caring, sharing Deputy Leader Rachel Millward, who thinks our asylum seeker friends are all surgeons, lawyers and engineers, with so many be-kind politicians deluding themselves about who is actually breaking into our country. What chance do we have of realistically tackling a soaring problem that Shabana Mahmood correctly stated is tearing this increasingly divided nation apart? 0344 499 1000. In other news, as disgraced former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner joins the frantic race to replace Keir Starmer in number 10, shouldn't she think about honouring her pledge to repay that £40,000 in stamp duty first? Yeah, after failing to cough up the correct amount of tax on her shiny new £800,000 seafront apartment in Hove, Big Ange still hasn't made good on her debt to the Exchequer. Is that the kind of behaviour we want from our future leader? 0344 499 1000. Also on tonight's action-packed show, the latest on Donald Trump's legal action against the lying BBC, the price of which seems to have risen from $1 billion to $5 million. Apologists for the bungling state broadcasters seem to believe that saying sorry for Panorama's egregious truth-twisting is enough. It isn't. If all that journalists had to do when they defame someone is say sorry, they wouldn't worry too much about doing it again. No, I'm afraid that serious libels entail serious financial compensation. Why should the BBC be any different to other media organisations in that respect? 0344 499 1000. Plus, The furious protest by locals against 600 young male migrants being billeted at an army training camp in Sussex. The mosque in East London that has learned it cannot ban women from its annual charity fun run. Why? Because while discriminating against females might hit the spot in some Islamic countries, in Britain, it's against the law. 0344499 1000. And the disgrace of Ground Zero on the scourge of woke policing. A dedicated copper sacked for not being courteous enough to a little thug with a knife who was terrifying a poor old guy in McDonald's. PC Lawn Castle has just won the right to appeal against his scandalous dismissal. Let's hope he takes the right on brigade at Dorset Police to the cleaners. Why is this force favouring a low-down lawbreaker over a decent officer just trying to keep people safe? 0344499 1000. And finally, royal guru Kinsey Schofield on the latest turbulent chapter in the ongoing book of horror featuring gruesome twosome Harry and Meghan. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday night together. And let's go straight over to my first guest for the first hour. It is, of course, Talk's brilliant international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Good evening, Kev. Well, I'm just finished listening to Shabana Mahmood, or as you call her, Shabs, and leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch. And it was pretty interesting, I must say. I know we're both going to have strong views on that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, before we get to Shabana's intentions, her speech, I mean, all of which I'm in favour of, I just think that, like so many issues with this Labour government, when she and her plans collide with reality, they just won't happen. Underpinning what I think is her inevitable failure in this endeavour is her refusal, along with Keir Starmer, Richard Hermer, or half the cabinet, nearly everyone in Labour, her refusal to countenance even thinking about leaving the European Convention on Human Rights. If we don't leave the ECHR, then we don't make our own sovereign decisions. In the end, our sovereign decisions can be superseded by a foreign court, and therefore none of this can happen as things stand. But before we discuss the actual nuts and bolts of what's been happening over the weekend and today with Shabana Mahmood, she gave a lot of interviews over the weekend as well to sort of soften the way for this big announcement today in the Commons. I want to take you back to something that you brought into this show a couple of months ago. I also want to talk about Darren Jones, the Prime Minister's private secretary, parliamentary secretary, also an MP, of course. And I want to talk about the Deputy Leader of the Green Party, Rachel Millward. All of these people, or particularly Jones and Millward, are symptomatic of this type of person in Parliament, virtue signalling, left-wing, who refuse to confront the truth about who's breaking into our country. So Darren Jones, we'll play that in a minute. He said, oh, you know, it's all women and mothers, babies, children. No, it's not, Darren. 75% of them are young men, most of them conning their way into the country, pretending they're escaping war and torture, neither of which are happening in France. So what are they talking about? And then you get Rachel Millward. We'll play you some tape in a minute of her saying, you think about all these migrants is they're all surgeons and lawyers and engineers. So these people just delude themselves and they create a false truth in order to sort of facilitate their ideology about opening our borders to these wonderful people who are just trying to get ahead in life, really valuable members of society. Oh yeah, really? Yeah, we're looking at the crime rate soaring all over the country right now, so thanks for that. But first of all, thanks to you, let's remind ourselves, 10 years ago this was, Shabana Mahmood, when she was a backbench left-wing Labour MP, heading for the Greek island of Lesbos, to greet all these illegal migrants pouring in from the Middle East and sub-Saharan Africa through Libya, pouring into Greece, into Europe. Shabana's there handing out food parcels. Have a look at this.
Lesbos, where boats have been coming in all day. Around 30 boats have arrived already today. There's a couple of charitable organisations on the ground here, one of whom is offering immediate medical assistance. Many of the people coming off are obviously very cold, very wet, and some are in shock. And there's also another organisation here who are offering food and water to people coming off the boats before they make their way up, a little way up the road from here to a camp where they can start the processing registration process.
When there are babies and children put into that position by human trafficking gangs who are coming across in the channel with skin burns from the oil from those boats mixing with the salt seawater, I would ask any of you to look at those babies and children and say, go back where you came from. It is right that we are there to help them. It is right that we are a country that respects our human rights obligations, but it is also right that we should have a border that is functioning and an immigration system that is functioning. It was left out of control by the last government.
You know they're coming from
and
France,
we're going to go.
right? You know they're coming from
France. Control of it again. It's right that we take a humanitarian response for those people who are put in those positions, and as the government's policy states, dealing with the criminal gangs who are exploiting vulnerable children to use that route, and then tackling the people who should not be using it and making sure that they're not staying in this country. You can do both of those things without politicising it in the way that you do.
Yeah.
Well, in my previous answer, I made the case that this government prioritises foreign citizens over citizens of the United Kingdom. After that testimony, I can rest my case.
How do you rest that case?
So number one, well, you were just talking about. So number one, the vast majority of the people making the journey from France by small boat are fighting age, military age males, not women and children. That's the first point. And I don't know if the BBC real-time fact checkers are working this evening or not. They seem to be when I speak, but let's see. That's the first point. The second point I would make is that, you know, we're talking about asylum hotels, and Rachel Reeves saying we're going to shut down asylum hotels. There was a report today that this Labour...
OK, so that was Sharon Jones, I like that. Darren Jones, a couple of months ago on Question Time, you know, stating quite clearly to the nation, the vast majority of these people come are mothers and women and babies and children. It's just not true. You know, the 75% of them, sometimes more, in the past it's been more, are young men of what we call military age. But the more you look at the crime lists, the crime tally, you start to think, well, these are young men of sexually active age, between the age of 17 and 34, loads of them. And they're mostly grifters. They're mostly conning their way into the country, saying, I'm escaping war and torture. They're not. No, they're not. Finally, maybe the most absurd example of this syndrome is Rachel Millward. She is the deputy leader of the Green Party, so you probably expect this kind of lunacy from her. But this is particularly ridiculous. She seems to think, Darren says they're all babies, mothers, women and children. And Rachel Millward takes issue with that. She thinks they're all surgeons, lawyers and engineers. Take it away, Rachel.
I'm here outside the recruitment training camp where the Home Office has decided to temporarily house 540 asylum seekers. What struck me most, actually, from this first site visit is the stories from the Home Office staff of the asylum seekers in other sites. They're talking about surgeons and doctors and lawyers, people who come from Eritrea or Afghanistan or all kinds of different places, who really should have the right to work, to contribute to our society, to be better integrated for their own well-being and for our communities, to pay tax, to be able to rent their own accommodation, to be able to get on with building their lives. We need to give asylum seekers the right to work. These camps are a political decision. We don't have to do it this way.
My second question is actually directly to you, Rachel. It does actually go to you as well, James. You did a video the other day, Rachel, saying that all of these people, you know, doctors and engineers and surgeons that are coming here, and we should give them the right to work. Now, firstly, engineers, doctors and surgeons do not come from France on a dinghy and throw their medical certificate overboard. It's very clear to me that you really don't understand the small boat crisis. So therefore, I'm going to say, why don't you resign, both of you, and make way for someone who understands the crisis? It's not a joke, Rachel. I'm serious. You do not have the capabilities to do this. You don't understand the small boat crisis. Step down, both of you, and let someone else take lead and actually get us what we need and represent this community, because you don't.
Well, there you are, Isabel. There's a compendium of where I think we've got this real problem. So many people in the body politic seek to delude themselves, seek to pretend truths about this migrant crisis that don't exist. They're all surgeons, they're lawyers, they're engineers, they're mothers, they're babies, they're children. These are people. Darren Jones is one of the most powerful people in the country. He is the right-hand man of the Prime Minister, possible future Chancellor of the Exchequer. He thinks it's all babies, women and children. Rachel Millward thinks it's lawyers, surgeons and engineers and doctors. It is this virtue signalling delusion, and you know, Shabana Mahmood, you know, over in Greece handing out food parcels, you know, she's of the same mindset, I fear. That's our problem. These people in Westminster, these out-of-touch people in Westminster, prefer to tell lies to themselves about what's going on than to confront the truth. And the truth is that thousands and thousands and thousands of young, undocumented men about whom we know nothing are ploughing across the channel day in, day out to be allowed in, no questions asked. That is the nature of the problem.
Well, another clip actually emerged of Shabana Mahmood today. It's been circulating from the years when she was a backbencher, in which she was calling for an amnesty for all illegal immigrants in the UK. So I actually do think she is committed to trying to tackle the problem a bit now she's Home Secretary, because she's actually a pretty smart woman. And even she can see that this cannot go on as it is, and that it will bring her government down. But I mean, she's a pretty late convert to the cause. And, you know, I would invite all these politicians, Darren Jones and Rachel Maskell and the deputy leader of the Green Party, and indeed the leader of the Green Party, I'd invite them to spend just a couple of days in Calais or Dunkirk. And if they can find me a surgeon, then I'm happy to eat humble pie. Good luck with that, guys. You will struggle to find migrants that speak a word of English there, never mind being highly educated surgeons. These are young men, very, very, very poor. I mean, they can barely carry more than they're wearing. These are young men in ragged clothes. How they pay for their fare, well, we'll come to that on another occasion. These are not highly qualified, university-educated individuals who are all set to be able to make a positive contribution. I'm sorry, they just aren't. And
it is just simply not the case that the majority of them are women, babies, mothers and children. The percentage of women, babies, mothers and children is very small. Essentially, we're talking about young men of military age, between the age of 17 and 34, who all come over and they lie their way into the country, and for some reason we put up with it. Well, listen, let's go to break now, and we'll talk more about Shabana's actual new plans when we come back, and I think the inevitable roadblock she's going to hit. I mean, I don't mind her plans. Her ideas, I think, are solid, sound and sensible. But they won't happen because she's not a member of a solid, sound and sensible party. And she'll never get this through Parliament. It's just not going to happen. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned, folks.
fine. The pure hypocrisy.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
When Reform announced policies that were milder than Shabana Mahmood is confirming today in the House of Commons, we were deemed racist and bigots. But now the current Home Secretary can announce it, and apparently that's all fine. The pure hypocrisy of this desperate Starmer regime in its bunker in number 10. But I think maybe Shabana Mahmood has, maybe she's actually now in the wrong party. Maybe she needs to...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. We're talking about Shabana Mahmood and the Home Secretary and her hardline plans to solve the migrant crisis. On that basis, Isabel, on a scale of 1 to 10, what chance would you give Shabana Mahmood of getting through those left-wing, be kind, virtue-signalling Labour backbenchers? The proposal that, upon arrival, we Brits take all the jewellery and valuables from these migrants in order to go some way towards paying for their accommodation. Do you think that the Labour left-wing backbenchers will vote for that?
I mean, I don't think they'll vote for very much.
They won't vote for any of it, will they?
The question is how much of it actually requires what's called primary legislation, whether there are things that can be pushed through without actually having the kind of votes that she's not going to enjoy having to fight to get. I think she'll get the support of the Conservatives. She'll get the support of Reform, even though they've only got a few MPs. That's quite important, kind of rhetorical support anyway. But you know, she's going to have a fight on her hands. You know, they've already been coming out of the woodwork long before she actually stepped up in front of Parliament today to describe her proposals as, in the case of Stella Creasy, the Labour MP for Walthamstow, to whom I'm awarding the early prize for piety. She described these proposals as performative cruelty. I mean, I really thought that was a bit strange coming from. It's
quite a good phrase, but I think it's a little unfair. But the point is, it does sum up, though, exactly why none of this is going to get through. I mean, you know, she's proposing that migrants, asylum seekers, when they arrive, lose their automatic right to welfare payments because now, as things stand, absurdly, we give them 50 quid a week as soon as they turn up. And those welfare payments will often go up if they manage to get kids here or anything like that. So she's proposing the removal of that. The Labour backbenchers will not vote for that. And by the way, in that proposal, this is the funniest line in Shabana's hardline measures. It literally says this: asylum seekers will not be paid welfare unless they need it. It's good, isn't it?
It's great to see the acknowledgement that that some are currently being paid it, even though they don't need it. But I think there's a few things in that set of proposals from today that actually may make the situation quite a lot worse. So, for example, she's talking about creating new legal safe routes. I mean, for how many years have we been hearing lefties going on about the need for safe legal routes? I mean, those already exist. It's called doing things properly, getting on a plane, for example, not getting in a small boat. And whenever there is some kind of global crisis, you know, some kind of war that is that we have a stake in, and even those that we don't. We are always creating safe legal routes, just as happened for Ukraine, where very, very fast-track visas were issued, just as happened for Hong Kong, just as happened for certain very deserving cases from Afghanistan. We now have a load of less deserving cases coming over in the so-called irregular, non-legal route. So I am worried about her proposal to create legal routes. I'm also worried about all these extra provisions for studying for people from certain categories. I don't know whether you listened on that. Yeah. New route for displaced students to stay here. Well, you know, welcome world. There's an awful lot of displaced people, or people that call themselves displaced. I'm feeling pretty displaced myself at this point from my own country, which can sometimes feel like a whole other world. So I feel that certain things will be exploited in a way that actually backfires. But I will give her credit, I must say, for really going for it today. I mean, I've just watched a clip of her dealing with an opposition politician, and, you know, she really kind of, actually using some quite profane language, said, I'm going to paraphrase here, you know, sort of said, look, those of you on the other side of the argument here, that is the left, claiming that there's nothing to see here, no big problem, this is all some kind of fiction from the far right, have got to get real. You've got to represent your constituents. There is a massive problem, she said repeatedly. Yeah. The system is broken. Now, I haven't heard a Home Secretary speak like that for, well, really ever, actually, for whatever the Tories, you know, thought that they were being tough. I did find that language quite compelling.
Yeah, and she gave interviews over the weekend saying, quite rightly, that, you know, the migration issue, the migrant crisis, was tearing this nation apart. So, you know, I mean, I agree with you. She's an intelligent woman. She's worked it all out, but she is hamstrung. She is shackled. She's in a straitjacket because she's a member of the Labour Party, and like all those other losers in the Labour Party, primarily, above everything else, she believes in human rights, and therefore she will not leave the European Convention on Human Rights, and therefore nothing she says means anything, because we can't make her own sovereign decisions. In the end, Britain's sovereign decisions will be made by a foreign court in Strasbourg. So if you don't leave the ECHR, it won't automatically solve the migrant crisis, but it is the essential foundation stone, the essential starting block. If you don't do that, you cannot achieve anything. Therein lies the problem. And she said, I mean, she's quite a good performer, you know, and this will make a few headlines. It'll make Labour look as if they're trying to do something for the next couple of days until everybody realises none of this stuff will actually happen. But she was interviewed by Trevor Phillips on Sky News over the weekend, one of Sky News' only watchable programmes. And Trevor put it to her, he said this one in, one out scheme. You know, and then he quoted all the ridiculous statistics and said, well, he said, isn't the idea that it's supposed to sort of reduce the number of migrants that are coming into the country is a bit deterrent? He said it's clearly not doing that. It hasn't reduced the number of migrants coming into the country. So what are you going to do about it? And she said, I don't accept that. She doesn't accept that the one in, one out scheme is not totally ineffective, because it is totally ineffective. And she actually contended that it is reducing the number of migrants coming into the country. So if she's going to be like that, her heart can be in the right place, but it's just not going to work. And she clearly is also part of Labour's delusional brigade.
I agree. It's very disappointing that she didn't acknowledge that, because I really don't know anyone who could possibly mount a credible argument that it's working. And, you know, other parts of her proposals, we know they're doomed before they even begin. You know, Kemi Badenoch actually did quite a good job dissecting it all. And one of the things that our Shabs proposes to do is mosey on down to the to the Council of Europe reform meetings and see if she can persuade people on the Council of Europe to actually change some of the sort of ECHR linked provisions. So she mentioned about how we can't send some people back to certain countries on the grounds that their prison cells are too small. And she proposes to see if she can get that changed. But as Kemi Badenoch pointed out, people have asked nicely before. Other countries have tried this and they've been rejected. So
I mean, so Shabana Mahmood is
anytime soon.
Yeah, Shabana Mahmood is a lawyer. She should know this. What she's saying is we should lobby to change the way the ECHR works, the European Convention on Human Rights works, particularly with a view to Articles 3 and 8. These are A, the right to a family life, and B, the right to avoid persecution or ill treatment if returned to your country. She says, oh, we're going to get rid of those clauses. Well, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You won't be able to do that. So you think, well, why are you so desperate to remain a member of this club that was formed in 1951 by us, actually, when the easiest thing to do would just be to leave it. We can make our own human rights bill. It's ridiculous. So there's that as well. And you have to also, just before we go to break, Isabel, you have to remember, why is she having to make this sort of great broadside of announcements? Why is she trying to grab the headlines saying, look at us, we're doing something, we're doing something? Because smash the gangs simply did not work. One in, one out is not working. Everything this government has tried to do has failed. So her having to make these statements today is because everything else Keir Starmer and his crew have tried to do has completely failed. In fact, it's been farcically useless. That's why we're where we're at today, because Labour just desperately scrabbles from one desperate position to the next. We're at the latest here. Nothing's going to happen unless she leaves the ECHR, and she's not going to do that. I don't want to be depressing about it, and I agree with you. I think, for a Labour cabinet minister, she's probably one of our better ones, but she won't take that big step and leave the ECHR, so none of this is going to work. Meanwhile, all of this makes Keir Starmer's position even weaker than it already was. We'll talk about his struggle to survive after this break. Stay tuned, folks.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about Keir Starmer. The vultures are circling. So many MPs jockeying for position to take over from Keir Starmer, whose days are numbered. He will go If not sooner, he will go later. So a lot of people say he won't survive until Christmas. I think he probably will. I think they'll wait until the local elections in May, when Labour will get thrashed embarrassingly, and then they'll kick him out and bring someone else in. But it's only a matter of time. You know, I could well be proved to be wrong. It could be by Christmas, because this guy is hopeless. We learned that West Streeting, one of the runners and riders, it's like the Grand National, this, the race to get to number 10. So many people have got their eyes on the prize of being Prime Minister. West Streeting, the Health Secretary, of course, absolutely outrageous to suggest he was in any way being treacherous to the Prime Minister last week. Absolutely disgraceful. What a joke. Of course he is. He wants the job. But we're learning today that, see, I mean, if we got West Streeting, I think West Streeting is overrated, but he's better than most of them, and he'll certainly be better than some of the other contenders. I think the danger, Keir Starmer will go, but the danger here is he will leave a vacuum into which Labour's left-wing instincts will pour. The majority of people in the Labour Party tend to favour their favourite cabinet minister, unbelievably, is Ed Miliband, by a mile. Their second favourite, Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner circling now, you know, as if she's not in disgrace. Almost forgotten about didn't pay her stamp duty. Almost forgotten that she left shamed and disgraced. She's now circling. She fancies the top job. And people have pointed out it's emerged because she's put herself into pole position, saying, it's Angela, I'm coming back. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get number 10. I'm going to be the Prime Minister. Well, it turns out she hasn't paid back that £40,000 stamp duty that she avoided paying. So surely her starting point should be to make good her debt to the Exchequer before she wants to be the Prime Minister of this country. Might be a thought.
Or maybe being Prime Minister of the country is her plan for paying back the money, because she'd have an immediate and quite substantial salary
increase, yeah.
So that, I mean, it might be the only way out for her at this point, though I rather think that someone will, you know, somebody will pony up the cash for her one way or another, and she'll be able to clean that slate. I agree with you that I think the party will choose someone that's to the left of Starmer, which is a pretty chilling thought. And actually that kind of loops back to the discussion we were having earlier. I don't think Keir Starmer's got much longer than May to survive. And so if this legislation on anti-immigration legislation is going to come in under another Prime Minister, then that's going to create even more problems. It may well be that in the beauty contest, in the competition to out-left each other, the new leadership contenders promise to unravel many of Shabana's proposals.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this will crystallise the divide in the Labour Party. I mean, there is a divide. There's the moderates, the more reasonable. Shabana Mahmood is moderate and more reasonable than most of them. I think West Streeting is as well. But these people are on the wrong side of Labour history, because the majority of people in the Labour Party, they're still weeping buckets of tears because Jeremy Corbyn's not in the party anymore. Their best substitute for Jeremy is Ed Miliband. They love Ed Miliband. They love Angela Rayner. They really love the fact that Lucy Powell is now deputy party leader, pulling all the strings from the left in the background. So the direction of travel, Starmer's gone. He'll either be gone by Christmas or he'll be gone straight after May. There's no doubt about that. When he does go, I mean, it's a bit careful what you wish for. Things will become worse because the party will lurch seriously leftwards, if you can even imagine that. The idea of Ed Miliband running this country, I don't know about you, Isabel, but it sends a shiver of horror down my spine.
Well, I mean, we very nearly had it all those years ago when he stabbed his brother in the back and ended up becoming Labour leader, didn't he? I mean, it feels like an eons ago now. But, you know, we saw the best of his abilities then, and I don't think he's gone on to impress any more than he ever did all those years ago. And we can look forward to, you know, yet more of our green and pleasant land being covered in pylons and solar panels and other nutty, bonkers net zero obsessed stuff that he dreams about tonight.
Yeah, it's frightening. So I do want Starmer to go because he deserves it. I think incompetence should be paid for. Accountability, so little accountability in this country. If you do your job badly, as he has, you should be fired. You should face the sack. So I want him to go on that basis, but I'm pretty frightened about who comes in after he goes. Because it's very unlikely to be one old Shabs today, while she put forward some reasonable proposals, undermined by her failure to leave the ECHR. But while she's putting forward those reasonable proposals, they've made her bed for her. She won't get in now. With these Labour left-wingers, she'll forever be the one who proposed taking the jewellery and valuables off migrants when they arrived at Dover. Even I was quite shocked by that. So these measures, they may have set out her stall, but it is not a stall that's going to win the battle to be our next Prime Minister. It won't be her. She will be seen as too right-wing by the rank and file.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I've never thought that, given the kind of makeup of this parliamentary party, that she would be a serious contender. I mean, the only way in which she might gather, enough support to get through to the various stages would be because actually Labour may inch up a tiny bit in the polls on the back of her sounding tough announcements. But, I really think today is probably the high point in Shabana Mahmood's crusade against illegal immigration. It's that sweet ministerial moment when you all the plaudits for your big promises before everybody has fully realised that all that noise was only ever that, just noise.
Yeah, it's just more. It's like the one in, one out scheme, Smash the Gangs. It's headline hunting. It's superior headline hunting by her. She's worked out the details. She's worked hard on this. And for that, I kind of play her a kind of reluctant compliment. But, it comes always back to, are you going to leave the ECHR or not? If you're not, forget it. We're stuck. We're stuck in this mess. And, we have a human rights lawyer as Prime Minister. We have a human rights lawyer as Attorney General. They're like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, old Starmer and Hermer. You'll never get anywhere trying to get out of the ECHR. Anything that in any way even remotely looks like Britain is reducing its commitment to their God Almighty human rights is not going to get anywhere. So there's your problem. Let's go to break. When we come back, well, it's another problem, I guess, for the government, but it's more of a problem for the BBC. I want to talk about the latest developments on the Donald Trump BBC front. And I think it is quite extraordinary how many journalists, how many intelligent people are saying, the BBC has apologised. That surely should be enough. Well, if it's a newspaper, if the Sun or the Daily Mail or the Times or the Telegraph libelled someone, defamed them egregiously like Panorama did to the president, the system isn't, well, the Telegraph said sorry, that's enough, surely. That isn't the system. When a media outlet defames someone and they apologise, they also have to give them financial compensation. We've had the dismissal or the departure of the Director General and the Head of News. We've had the apology from the BBC. I'm afraid, all of you barrack room lawyers, that's called, in the wonderful world of libel, an open and shut case. Donald Trump has already won it. The idea that the BBC should be let off what all other media outlets would have to pay is ridiculous. Just because it's license fee payers' money, that's the way it is. It's ridiculous. They're going to lose this case, and they shouldn't fight it because they've already lost it. We'll talk about that next.
floor.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Now, Isabel, if you or I are working for a newspaper and we write a story that egregiously libels the President of the United States of America, you know, we pretend that he called for violent insurrection on January the 6th when he did nothing of the sort. If we wrote that in the newspaper, do you think people would, and he sued, do you think people would go, oh, that's not fair, that's not fair on the shareholders of the newspaper, he should just accept an apology? Doesn't go like that, does it? I am absolutely gobsmacked by all these idiots going, well, what about the licence fee payers? This isn't fair. I've heard people today saying, oh, come on, the BBC has apologised. So what?
Yeah.
So what? You know, I'm sorry for the licence fee payers, but in the end, the BBC is just another media outlet, and you are not allowed to libel people. If you tell egregious lies about people, if you twist the truth about them and make them look bad, yes, you have to apologise. You also have to massively compensate them financially. That's the way it goes. Why does the BBC feel that it should be accepted from that rule, that it should be unique in this respect? It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, if a newspaper libelled the President of the United States in that way, and knowing that the President of the United States is an extremely litigious character, I think that newspaper would be making preparations to collapse. You know, you would expect that newspaper to be thinking, unless they've got some almighty insurance, and newspapers do have types of libel insurance, they would be expected to be cleaned out. You know, this is how it is on newspapers, as you say, and on other news organisations. There is accountability, and very painful it is too for journalists that inadvertently libel people. In the case of the BBC, it wasn't inadvertent, was it? You know,
no,
often
that's the point. That's exactly it. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. They told a lie about him. People say, all these lefties go, he's got no reputation. You can't defame somebody like Donald Trump. He's such an awful man. He's the President of the bloody United States of America. And you said, BBC, Panorama, you said that he made a speech calling for the mob, those guys with the buffalo hats, to storm Capitol Hill. Fight, fight, fight. Calling for violent insurrection. He did nothing of the type. You cannot imagine a worse libel, and the BBC is going to have to pay. Its contention that this is not defamation is just bizarre. It's childlike. It's stupid. No wonder he's upped what was a $1 billion lawsuit to a $5 billion suit. The BBC's intransigent attitude to this is making the situation worse and worse. Now, Starmer was going to have a conversation, a phone call with Donald Trump about this, although I understand that Starmer's line, because he always wants to suck up to the president, is, oh, you're quite right, the BBC's got to get its house in order. So I don't think Starmer's going to persuade him not to pursue this lawsuit, this legal action. But the call evidently didn't happen. Here's Donald Trump talking about it on Air Force One over the weekend.
What BBC did, nobody would even think a thing like that was done. They actually changed the words coming out of my mouth. Well, we'll sue them. We'll sue them for anywhere between $1 billion and $5 billion, probably sometime next week.
So you're ready to take?
Well, I think I have to do it. I mean, they've even admitted that they cheated. I mean, not that they couldn't have not done that. They cheated. They changed the words coming out of my mouth. The people of the UK are very angry about what happened, as you can imagine, because it shows the BBC is fake news. Plus, you and I knew that for a long time, but we didn't know it was this fake.
Have you raised the issue with Sir Keir Starmer?
I have not, but I'll call him. I'm going to call him over the weekend. He actually put a call into me. He's very embarrassed by it.
Well, I think Starmer probably is embarrassed about it. I mean, by the way, Isabel, Trump has steered the BBC into the textbook way that you win a libel case. First of all, you get an apology. So if they apologise before the event, which they have, they've already said, we've made a mistake, we've done something wrong here. Yeah. Then add to that the obvious nature of the departure of the man who runs the entire organisation, the Director General Tim Davie, £547,000 a year. He had to resign over this, and so did the head of news, Deborah Turness, £431,000 a year. The fact that they quit and that the BBC has already apologised, how are they going to defend this? They've already admitted that they were wrong, that they've told a lie. They cannot defend it.
Well, under UK libel law, and I'm not a libel lawyer, but I've a fair amount of experience of this. You have to be able to prove serious harm, and that is where the BBC, in vain, hopes that it might have some kind of chance. What they're planning to argue, I believe, is that the relevant programme was not actually aired in the US, and therefore there was no serious harm and so on. I think it will be pretty easy to demonstrate serious harm on all sorts of measures. And, you know, they're bang to rights.
You cannot imagine, Isabel, a more serious libel to accuse someone of trying to cause insurrection against the government. Revolution. That is a very serious libel, and BBC saying, well, it wasn't broadcast in America. I don't know if they've heard about this newfangled thing, YouTube, or this even more newfangled thing, social media. But if I could just introduce the BBC to the 21st century, they'll realise that it was shown in America. That old defence doesn't work anymore in the new media age. So all in all, otherwise he wouldn't be able to cite an amount. If you sue someone for libel, defamation in this country, you can't demand an amount. That has to be decided by the court. But the fact he's done it under American law means he can cite an amount, and it was shown over there. They're not going to win on that basis. And when they say, well, we don't say we believe he wasn't seriously defamed, it didn't harm him. You said that a man who was at the time President of the United States called for violent revolution. In what way do you think that wasn't defamation? Do tell, because I can't work it out. It's ridiculous.
Well, the other thing that there is under libel law, I don't know about the detail of libel law in America, is that if you do something vindictively with an agenda as a journalist, that makes it even worse. It's a bit like burgling a house with a weapon. It becomes aggravated. And I think it will be quite easy for Trump's lawyers to demonstrate that the BBC has had an agenda against him. And that would make it worse.
Exactly right. I think the BBC is in big trouble here, and the way it's going about this is hapless and useless. So Keir Starmer may get to talk to him or not, but I don't think it's going to change the situation. Isabel, fantastic to talk to you as always. Stay tuned. Rupert Lowe is next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In half an hour, we're going to discuss the case of PC Lawn Castle, or ex-PC Lawn Castle, dedicated copper down in Dorset. He's been sacked because he wasn't courteous enough to a knife-wielding maniac, some little thug, 15-year-old going around McDonald's trying to beat up an old man, terrorising everybody else. Lawn Castle tackled this guy bravely, got the knife off him, sat him down. He screamed and screamed and screamed. Lawn said something to him about shut the hell up. I won't use the exact words he used. Anyway, Lawn has been sacked for not being courteous enough to this knife-wielding little thug. That goes, to my mind, to the heart of everything that is wrong with modern British policing. Kind of wokery that favours the law breakers over law enforcers. Absolute madness. We'll talk about that in half an hour, and don't forget, get your phone calls in, because after that I'll take some calls. 03444991000. But very pleased to say that for the next 30 minutes or so, we'll be spending it in the excellent company of independent MP for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe. Welcome, Rupert.
Evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Good to have you on board. Now, I want to ask you about this demonstration over the weekend down outside Crowborough Army Camp, where they're about to put 600 young male migrants, asylum seekers in there. The locals very upset about it. I think it's a story that's panning out all over the country. But I'm an avid follower of your Facebook posts, and you posted something very interesting today. We're all a bit fed up about the fact that somehow or other it seems that we're providing asylum seekers with free driving lessons and free driving tests, even before they've been granted the right to stay in this country. Particularly it's been happening in Kent, where I think they spent something like £20,000 on it over a year. You posted today that, yes, we're giving these people free driving lessons and free driving tests, but you have reason to believe that when these tests, the driving tests, are taken, all might not be above board, that other migrants are standing in for the people who are not that good at driving in order to pass the test under a fake system. Is that, tell us about that.
Well, that's right, Kevin. I mean, I think you probably know that we've got a whistleblowing line, which and somebody has whistleblown to tell us that this is happening, and what's happening is that some foreign people are sitting the tests on behalf of other foreign people who arguably wouldn't be able to pass the test, and passing the test on the basis that the authorities are incapable of telling one of these people from another. And I think often the establishment are also frightened of being called racist. So I think a lot of this stuff is, from what we're reliably informed, slipping through the net. So it obviously, if that is happening, which we will go on to research and prove, then it calls into question, obviously, the testing itself. It calls into question the administration of the testing. But what it also calls into question is, are our roads more dangerous now as a result of this? And I think we have posted in the past that our roads are more dangerous because we're so busy with all this immigration. That's made the roads more congested. People obviously are finding it more difficult to get around. And if we've got people who are arguably not qualified to be driving, the whole thing is in my terminology, a bit of a bugger's muddle, Kevin.
Well put. That's the technical term for it. But I'll tell you what always confused me about this, or worried me about this whole idea, ludicrously, in my view, of us funding driving lessons for asylum seekers and then funding their driving tests, which, you know, Maybe some of them genuinely passed, but now you're suggesting maybe not all of them were genuine passers of this test. But look, these are asylum seekers. They haven't.
Can we be clear? Can we be clear, Kevin? I'm not sure they are asylum seekers. We think a lot of them are economic migrants.
Yeah, what I'm saying, though, is, Rupert, they haven't been granted asylum. So why are we giving them why are we letting them take driving tests?
Well, Kevin, can I recommend that you and all your readers read this wonderful document that's been produced by Restore Britain, which basically is called Mass Deportations. And it's a very good read. It's quite long.
What's it about?
It's about mass deportation, as it says on the tin.
No, I figured that. Yeah.
And it's on the Restore Britain website, restorebritain.org.uk. So you can download the PDF, or we've got some printed versions for those people who aren't online. But we actually look at the constitutional reasons why we can't deport these people. We also look at the constitutional reforms we need to make, and then we look at the practical solutions to it. Been written by one of my team called Harrison Pitt, who has done a fantastic job. And I think, unlike a lot of modern politics, this is a properly thought through document. And we believe that there should be a zero tolerance, hostile environment created for these people. They are coming here illegally, and therefore they should be treated as if they're coming here illegally. And as I say, most of them, in my view, are not asylum seekers. They're economic migrants, and there's a huge difference. They've traveled through multiple safe countries, and any self-respecting country that respects its borders would immediately detain and then deport them, and not tolerate this nonsense. But again, today I had a Westminster Hall debate as a result of the e-petition that I started, with Lucy Connolly present. And I've got to tell you, the turnout was low, and the sort of cant that we got from Lib Dems and the Labour people who were there just shows me that they've completely lost touch with what the British people think. And, I think that's the case with deportation, Kevin. I don't think the people responsible for administering our country and our laws, they don't respect the view of the majority of tax-paying Brits. And equally, they have presided over these Pakistani Muslim rape gangs who have been breaking the law for the last 25 years with impunity. So we're doing our rape gang inquiry, which will be sitting in February, and we should have the report out by the end of March, beginning of April. And it's going to make some pretty horrific reading for everybody.
I'm sure it will. Perhaps we could discuss that in just a little while. But what did you make today of Shabana Mahmood's various proposals, crackdown on the asylum system, this chaotic asylum system, migrant system, cross-channel boat system? I think, personally, from my point of view, the problem with it is always the same problem. You can say all this stuff, Shabana or Keir or whoever, but if you don't leave the European Convention on Human Rights, you can't enforce any of it. The ECHR, the European Court of Human Rights, will supersede our sovereign British decisions. So everything she said today, I quite like the principle of some of the ideas, but not leaving the ECHR, remaining in the ECHR, will mean that they are unimplementable. And also, I suspect all of her left-wing backbench Labour MPs will vote all of this stuff down as well, because it's not very virtue signalling, it's not very be kind. So it's doomed, isn't it?
Well, again, I think I'm right in saying Shabana Mahmood is the daughter of, I think, they're a migrant family. So yeah. I think it's quite heartening to hear what she had to say on Laura Kuenssberg and in the House today. So we actually posted today to say that if she comes up with some tangible suggestions as to how we can deal with this, we will support her. After all, Labour are the ruling party. Yeah. And if they start to listen to the prevailing view of the British people and they start to deliver, we will support that. The key for this country is to see these people basically being deported in big numbers. We did recommend she reads our document, because our document actually explains the elements of the Human Rights Act, which embeds within it the ECHR, that are causing the problem, and those parts of the ECHR which need to be repealed. So if she starts there and then she does deliver what she said she intended to deliver, then I think we should all support her. The question really, Kevin, is do they have the will to do it? Will the other backbenchers within the Labour Party support her? And it's a case of, I think, watching what the hands are doing, not what the mouth is saying, as is so often the case in government.
Well, indeed, and in terms of the ECHR itself, the European Convention on Human Rights, she wants to tackle or get rid of, really, Articles 3 and 8, which are all about a right to a family life and not being persecuted or badly treated if we do deport you back to your home country. So she wants to get rid of those two awkward tenets of the ECHR, the ones that our left-wing immigration tribunal judges always cling on to. Oh, you've been in jail for 8 years for child sex abuse. You've got your own family. Well, in that case, you can stay in the country and you can continue to be a threat to our children. These are the decisions that they make on the back of Article 3 and Article 8. I always like when they say, well, it turns out that if we send him back to Syria, they take a very dim view of paedophilia there, and therefore he'll be badly treated if we send him back to Syria. And I always think, well, we're not exactly that keen on paedophilia in this country. We should prioritise our own country over the welfare of Syria, I would suggest. But you know, she's a lawyer, Shabana Mahmood. She knows full well you cannot take a tract like the ECHR and sort of cherry pick the bits you want and reject the bits you don't want. It doesn't go like that. The easiest thing to do would be, let's leave the ECHR and, as you say, get rid of Tony Blair's Human Rights Act and make our own Bill of Rights, Bill of Human Rights, and then we can make our own sovereign decisions. If she doesn't do that, forget it.
Well, I think, again, if people read our document, we actually do come up with the solutions. I think the bigger question, obviously, is the judiciary. And my own view is that the judiciary in this country has become dysfunctional. It's become dishonest in many cases. And I think it's been undermined by the Constitutional Reform Act, which Tony Blair passed in 2005. So ultimately, a lot of the issues that we all face now go back to Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Mandelson, and Campbell, and Derry Irvine, of course. So a lot of the what I call heffalump traps were laid by them very effectively, if you now look back on it. Obviously, they were then perpetrated by David Cameron and, to a lesser extent, Theresa May, and Boris failed with an 80-seat majority to actually effect all the appeals that needed to be effected. So I agree with you. I think, obviously, the solution is there. The question is, can they deliver it against the force of now what I would describe as a dysfunctional judiciary, which I think is increasingly enforcing the rule of lawyers rather than the rule of law. And I myself know this from what I've been doing recently. It's very difficult to get any sense out of the administrative courts. The people who administer them are very often at odds with the judges who are supposed to be sitting on the people who are bringing their cases. And I think it's completely broken. So like most things in terms of the organs of the state and the way in which we're all administered and governed, there's so much, Kevin, that needs to be reformed that it's very, very difficult to know where to start, quite frankly. But I think one has to just actually research things properly, come up with the solutions, and then hopefully in due course the British people will realise, which I think they're realising, quite how dysfunctional, well, certainly Parliament, the civil service, the judiciary, the police, almost every part of Britain now is. And ultimately, the electorate are the bosses. The penny's got to drop for them. They need to show in the form of their disillusionment by supporting a mass movement, which is the only way we're going to be able to affect the radical change that needs to be made before 2029. So it's a very complex situation. It's not easy to punch one's way out of this paper bag, but it can only be done as part of a mass movement, in my opinion.
Well, she talked about, we're going to break in just a second, Rupert, but she talked about, ending asylum seekers' automatic right to welfare benefit payments. That seems reasonable to me, because every single one of them now that comes across the channel illegally, the first thing we do is give them 50 quid a week benefits. Then we give them a free hotel. Then we give them free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers to fight their case to stay, free food, and so on and so forth, and the driving lessons we've already discussed. But just as a beginning, if she wants to get tough, I've always thought this, I don't know what you think about this. One thing, how about this? We stop giving them legal aid. We stop paying for their lawyers to fight their case to stay. We say, if you come over and you want to claim asylum, you can pay for the case yourself. Why don't we do that?
Well, we should create a hostile environment. We should not, and much as it pains me to say, Macron, who I don't have a great deal of regard for, he came over here and he told us what the problem was. He said we actually make things far too easy for them. So, illegal means illegal. They're coming here illegally. They haven't been invited here. They're breaking the law here. And as you quite rightly say, we are basically rolling out the red carpet for them and indicating that we're happy to see them here. Well, frankly, the British people aren't happy to see them here, and we need to create a hostile environment, as you say. Stop dishing out cash, stop putting them at the top of housing lists, stop giving them legal aid, and create an environment which makes it, if you like, hostile for them to come here in the first place, and then they'll stop coming. That's got to be part of the overall solution.
Well, and that was the problem, my problem with Shabana Mahmood's crackdown that she's been laying out all weekend and of course today in the Commons. It doesn't really tackle any of those generous gifts that we seem to shower our asylum seekers with the moment they break into our country illegally. I mean, what we should do, in my view, is to say, well, you've broken our laws. You can't just come into this country on an illegal vessel without any documents. That's against the law. As such, you negate your right to asylum. We are returning you. We're sending you out. We're deporting you.
All funded, Kevin, by the largesse of the British taxpayer.
Exactly.
Who is being hollowed out by a sort of an ideologically driven incompetent Labour Party who've got absolutely no idea how business is driven. It's driven by private investment. It's driven by people taking risk. It's not driven by central planners. We know that doesn't work. So all this has got to be funded by the honest, decent tax-paying people of Britain. And frankly, it's unfair on them.
It certainly is. Rupert, let's go to break. When we come back, I want to talk about this demonstration over the weekend outside Crowborough Army Camp. And I also want to talk about a mosque in East London that has learnt one of Britain's laws. You can't discriminate against women just because they're women. We'll talk about both of those stories when we come back.
some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with the independent MP for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe, and the leader of the Restore Britain movement. Let's talk, if you don't mind, Rupert, that yesterday, big demonstration around the Crowber Army Training Base, where Labour is just about to put 600 male migrants, young male migrants, is about to billet them there as an alternative to hotels. Well, you know, I'm all for saving money on the hotels, but this sort of redistribution of asylum seekers out of hotels to houses of multiple occupation, army camps, disused holiday camps and so on and so forth. I mean, it won't really do. I mean, it's a bit like sort of rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It won't really have any effect, and all it's going to do, as we discovered yesterday, is really upset local residents. So Crowber was turned down once before as unsuitable to take migrants. Now it's going to get 600. Local residents, 2,000 of them marched yesterday, saying they're already installing rape alarms. They're terrified for their children. This is worrying, this syndrome, isn't it?
Kevin, it's incredibly worrying, and I'm with the people who are suffering the effects of settling, as you quite rightly say, largely male, fighting age men across the country. I mean, whether it's in army camps, whether it's in houses of multiple occupation, whether it's in hotels, that's not really the point. This is damaging the fabric and structure of Britain. We see crime going up in those areas. We've seen some heinous crimes committed by these migrants, legal and illegal. And at the end of the day, I think I understand the concerns of the British people, and I think particularly after some event like, you know, the Southport killing, you can understand why, when you've got such a febrile environment where people's entire life and livelihood is being threatened by this malaise, which should be dealt with by detaining and deporting. It can be done if the will's there. There's no doubt about that. So I'm with the people who are showing concern. Obviously, they've got to do it legally. They've got to express their concerns legally. But it is incumbent on the people who govern the country, Kevin, to start listening to what the people who are paying the taxes and voting, what their concerns are. And I think there's a general sort of reluctance to discuss or accept the fact that people are deeply concerned, quite rightly, about what's been happening.
Absolutely, and I think we're going to see more and more of this as Labour's plans to reduce the use of asylum seeker hotels continue apace. It is going to get worse and worse and worse. I mean, I'm all for saving money on asylum seeker hotels, but what I don't see in the grand scheme of things is any real commitment to reducing the entire problem. You know, Labour have for a long time kind of converted the debate into somehow that the British public will go, well, as long as you're moving these people out of hotels and into army camps, that's just fine. No, what we'd like you to do, actually, is to stop them coming across the channel all the time. That's what we'd like you to do, not redistribute where they live, where we're putting them.
Well, Kevin, I mean, and to finish off on that point, Restore Britain, we ran a poll on what was the most concern, of the most concern to our membership, and basically that's why we produced this document on mass deportation, because that is at the top of people's concern list right now.
Yeah, don't put them into army camps, deport them. Good idea. Right. Now, moving on, if I may, just quickly before you go, Rupert, good to have you on board. Always appreciate it. This is an East London mosque. Not so long ago, it was revealed that this mosque in East London was holding its annual fun run for charity. Everyone was allowed. You didn't have to be a Muslim or anything like that. Very open event. So men, children, you know. It turned out that everybody could take part. Very, very open event, apart from women over the age of 12. They were banned. So there was a huge row about this. Now, the East London Mosque has been informed next year it will not be allowed to ban women. Now, these people, I'm sure they're very good people, but they are going to have to learn, some of these of our Islamic friends are going to have to learn that it is not legal in this country to discriminate against women. You cannot say, well, over the age of 12, women can't take part. Boys can take part. Men can take part. Girls under the age of 12 can take part, but no women over the age of 12. Now, that might fly. That might really hit the spot in some Islamic countries, but here it's against the law. And I think more and more of these mosques need to be informed of that, should they have any sort of intention of setting up a kind of almost a Sharia law society in Britain. This was quite a good day, I thought.
Well, it's a very interesting one, Kevin, because, as you probably know, the Equality Act, which is the root reason why discrimination isn't allowed between the sexes, and it's a two-way thing, not a one-way thing, was introduced Brown Act legislation in 2010. So, very interesting, and I'm not sure it's been enforced to date. And I think I've always been surprised that with Islam and Islam's view of women, the way they treat women, I mean, I think in Iran, I'm right in saying girls can be married at 9, which is quite extraordinary. So, and obviously, you know, you've got a very different culture treating women in a very different way. The question is, where's the Me Too movement? Where have they been for all this time? Why has it taken this long for somebody to point out that the Equality Act needs to be enforced? It's actually been law in this country, as I say, since 2010. And it clearly isn't followed in a lot of cases, such as the one you've outlined at this mosque. So hopefully it will be enforced. But as you know, we've got two-tier policing. Personally, I think the marches, the pro-Palestine marches, where people were wandering along chanting from the river to the sea. Most of them didn't know which river and which sea.
You're right about that.
So those marches were policed very differently to the marches which the patriots, marching because they were concerned about mass immigration and the undermining of their wonderful culture of a high-trust society, which we're rapidly losing. They were policed very differently. I think there's a fear amongst the leaders of this country that they have pursued a policy of mass immigration, which has clearly and palpably failed. And I think they're frightened of being called racist. They're frightened of admitting the mistakes they've made. So I think they've been very slow to actually ensure that they protect the interests of the British people, whose country it is, who pay their taxes, who abide by the law, and who do flourish in a high-trust society where we don't have vast numbers of rules and regulations and laws and licensing, which we've now sadly got, because I think, you know, a lot of the people who come here don't understand the rules of engagement that we've always followed. And as a result, our quality and our standard of life are plumbing new lows every week. So this is a very, very interesting situation. And I say, where is the Me Too movement? I'm all in favor of able women being selected on merit and playing their part in society. I'm not in favor, as you know, of quotas. I think that's quotas for the sake of it is part of the reason why we're where we are in the House of Commons. Blair and Cameron selected on quotas, not on merit. And it's time the Me Too movement stood up to the way in which these people have been treated in this particular mosque, and I'm sure mosques across the country.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of it, you know, us standing up for our values. And, you know, it's a multicultural society, that's great, but they have to follow the rules of the land. And the rules of the land are you can't exclude women from events purely because they're women. That might fly in some Islamic countries, it doesn't fly here. So I thought that was a rather good moment that we've stood up for ourselves in this respect, but we need to see more of it, and you're quite right, Ruben, we need to see more of the Me Too movement, we need to see more feminists standing up for this. It seems that there are certain people they don't want to stand up to, but that's another issue. That's another issue that we shall discuss very soon. Rupert, fantastic to have you on the show as always. Thank you so much. Rupert Lowe, independent MP for Great Yarmouth and the leader of the Restore Britain movement. Let me know what you think about some of the things he was saying. 0344 499 1000. Very interested to hear what you think about Shabana Mahmood's various tough hardline measures that she brought in today, or she announced today. She won't leave the ECHR, so will she get any of them through? What do you think? Is Shabana Mahmood really the woman who's going to solve the migrant crisis by cracking down hard, making this a more hostile environment, saying you can't bring your families over, you won't be considered for citizenship for 20 years. When you get here, we're going to nick all your jewellery and all your valuables to pay for your accommodation. All of that sort of thing. What do you think? Do you think it's going to fly? Do you think she'll get it through Parliament? Do you think the Labour left-wingers will allow it, even if she does get it through Parliament? Will it actually work? I mean, she's got this idea that when we allow migrants to stay, asylum seekers to stay, because their country is war-torn or full of torture or something, if that improves, we'll keep a constant eye on their countries, and if we decide their countries aren't war-torn anymore, we'll send them home. Well, you know, I think you can see the problems there. Really? You know, that's not going to happen, is it? So I think a lot of this is pie in the sky. I don't think she's going to get any of it through. And if she doesn't leave the ECHR, Labour doesn't stand a chance of solving this at all. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. And controversially, do you... Look, I don't want the BBC to lose this case against Donald Trump, but it already has. And it's going to have to pay him some money. Why does the BBC seem to believe that alone among all, uniquely among all media organisations, that it shouldn't have to pay people that it defames, people that it libels, financial compensation? They're basically saying, oh, we've said sorry to Trump. What more does he want? I'll tell you what more he wants. $5 billion. And at this rate, with the BBC's attitude, their intransigence over this, their stubborn pompousness over this, he's going to stick it out for $5 billion. It won't ruin the BBC, by the way. We give them $5.8 billion once a year in licence fee money. They can afford it. But don't you think that the BBC should be susceptible, should be ruled by the same laws as all other media outlets? Well, it shouldn't be allowed to deliberately tell lies about people, even if it's Donald Trump. Should it? Should they? I don't think they should. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about an egregiously wronged copper, if you ask me, a policeman who was sacked for not being polite enough to a knife-wielding teenage maniac. Good, isn't it? That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Taking your calls in just a little while. 03444991000. You know what we're talking about. Give me a call. It's good to talk on Talk. Now, let's talk about Lawn Castle, a dedicated police constable down in Dorset. In Bournemouth, last January 24, he tackled a teenage knife maniac, some kid running around McDonald's brandishing a knife, apparently beaten up or terrified some poor old guy, was terrifying everyone else in there. PC Lawn Castle turned up, end of a 10-hour shift, last thing he wanted. He tackled this kid, took him to the ground, took his knife off him, kept everyone safe. The kid's screaming his head off. PC Castle said something to him that was considered to be not polite enough. He was sacked for not being courteous enough to a knife-wielding teenage maniac. That, to my mind, is ground zero of exactly where British policing is going wrong. Mad wokery, the prioritisation, the favouritism towards a law breaker over a hard-working law enforcer. Absolute madness. Let's talk to former head of National Counter-Terrorism, the security office there, Chris Phillips. Welcome, Chris. Do you agree with me that this is just insane? I mean, what he actually said, I think I can say it. He said, so he's sitting on this guy, this kid, who terrorised all the people in McDonald's in Bournemouth, who apparently beaten up some poor old guy. PC Castle turned up, fought him to the ground, took the knife off him, and he was screaming blue murder. And he said something along the lines of, "Stop screaming like a bitch." You know, that's a word we're not supposed to use anymore. Okay, it's not perhaps the nicest thing anyone ever said to each other, to anyone, but under the circumstances, is it that surprising? I mean, he has now been sacked for not being courteous enough to a knife-wielding thug. Now, the reason I'm doing this story now is he has finally been allowed to appeal against that, in my view, absurd decision, and I hope he wins. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, Kevin, if ever there was an example of where policing has gone down the pan, this is very much it. I worked with many officers and there were many people who used to go out and arrest people on a daily basis, really bad people, take them off the streets. And the one lesson that you learn is that you have to talk to people in the language that they understand. And Lorne Castle, I mean, it's quite bizarre that even the young man that was arrested didn't complain. This is wokery in the chief constable, chief realm, whichever officers were involved in the disciplinary hearing, that meant that he got sacked. It's just absolute nonsense. And let me tell you this, it's this kind of decision that will stop good people from ever wanting to become police officers.
Well, exactly right. And as I said in the build-up to this piece, this is essentially senior coppers, you know, because you should never blame, when we talk about the problems with our police forces, it's the people at the top, not the rank and file, to be fair. The police force...
I mean, let's be quite honest. You know, at the ground level, mistakes are being made. But you're right; it comes from the top, and this kind of jelly-bellied, sandal-wearing wokery, it just does no one any favours, because what it does, it arms effectively the really bad people in our society, knowing that they can do anything they like to police officers, because all they've got to do is make a complaint and the officer won't be there anymore. It's just crazy.
And also, I mean, what they're doing is that they are favouring, prioritising, if you like, a lawbreaker, this awful kid thug with a knife, over a hard-working career police officer who loved his job, was a dedicated copper. As I said, he did this at the end of a 10-hour shift. I bet it was the last thing he wanted to do. He sorted out a situation, he made the public safe, he got the knife off that kid, put him under arrest. Quite right, well done, PC Castle. And then he loses his job for it because he's not courteous enough. I mean, you know, what's happened to policing, Chris?
Well, you know, it is this, you know, we call it wokery, but it's just an absolute nonsense. And for his senior officers not to see, you know, the fact that this is an officer dealing with someone who's difficult, that needs to be dealt with robustly, that needed to be spoken to harshly. And actually, these kids have never had anyone deal with them properly, which is why they are like they are generally. And what we need actually is more Lorne Castles, more robust policing, you know, when complaints are made, then, as I would have done, dealt with it at a very low level and said, okay, you know, perhaps speak to him a little bit differently next time, but generally, great arrest.
And by the way, a window into PC Castle's excellent character. Just weeks after he was sacked, after he was dismissed, he stepped in as a civilian to make a civilian arrest of a shoplifter. So, you know, this is a guy who's dedicated to, you know, trying to fight crime. And he's the sort of person that the police force should endeavour to keep within its ranks, not go out of its way to sack. Now, as I said earlier, Chris, I suppose the good thing is that they have now, the Dorset police have now accepted or given Lorne Castle the right to appeal. I think he might win this one, don't you?
I think he'll win it. He must win it. It's just an incredibly bad decision taken by people who clearly have no knowledge of street policing. And, you know, I can tell you that back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, it was a difficult place, particularly to deal with rough people on the streets of London and other cities. You have to be robust if you want to deal with serious criminals. There are people out there that will kill you and carry around a knife in order to kill you. You don't pussyfoot around these people. And this officer, you know, would you go back to policing if this had happened to you? I certainly wouldn't.
I think he wants to. He's talked about how shocked he was to lose the job he loved.
Well, I wouldn't want to work for the people that even thought for one moment that it was right to sack him for this behaviour, which I would consider appropriate in the circumstances.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, what are they saying? You know, he's got some thug with a knife who's just beaten some poor old guy up in McDonald's, and that they expect PC Castle to call him sir while he's having a fight with him to get the knife off him. I mean, it's breathtaking. It's really hard to get your head around, isn't it?
It's so bad. And you know, if you could see some of the expressions of support for him that are coming from policing, and in particular retired police officers who would all say that they did so much worse than this, effectively, but all in the name of keeping the streets safe. And what Lorne Castle wants to do is keep the streets safe for the general members of the public. And I think the general member of the public want him and his ilk to do this. It's only idiots that we seem to have employed at the top end that seem to find great offence at this kind of policing.
It's very strange. Woke policing is the scourge of our times, Chris. Really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. Chris Phillips there, former head of National Counter-Terrorism, the security office there. I mean, I agree with him, don't you? I mean, what is that about? I mean, it's a hard-working career copper. You know, used one nasty word to a knife-wielding thug causing terror in Bournemouth McDonald's, beating up an old guy. You know, frankly, I'd have called him a lot more. I mean, are we really going to say that? Oh, coppers can't swear, coppers can't be nasty to criminals, can't say nasty things. If so, we might as well stop the planet and get off, because Britain has officially gone insane. But let me know what you think. 03444991000. We need to support our working coppers more than we do right now, don't we? 03444991000. Take your calls when we come back, and then after the 9 o'clock news, it's Kinsey Schofield on the latest goings on Planet Harry and Meghan and the rest of the royal family. We'll talk about that after the 9 o'clock news. But you next, 03444991000. Get on the phone, let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, we're going to go to the phones in just a second. This is an interesting text that I've had from Scott in Surrey. Hi, Kev. I was a sergeant. We're talking about PC Lawn Castle, the poor copper who was fired for not being courteous enough to a knife maniac. So Scott in Surrey says, hi, Kev. I was a sergeant in the Met Police for 20 years, and I guarantee you that this PC Castle in Dorset was probably a genuine, quote, thief taker with a great arrest record, and senior officers were looking to stitch him up because they didn't like his old school direct style. We need more coppers like this, lad, not less. Exactly right, Scott, exactly right. Ridiculous. Should coppers be polite to knife-wielding maniacs? 0344 499 1000. Also, don't forget, get on the phone about Shabana Mahmood and her bid to solve the migrant crisis. Is it going to work? Will she get it through her left-wing Labour backbenchers? If she won't leave the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, it's all a waste of time, isn't it? 0344 499 1000. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Carl in Liverpool. Hi, Carl.
Good evening, Kev. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. What would you like to say?
Yes, Shabana Mahmood's speech today. So first of all, although she's saying a lot, we know it's not going to get past the backbenchers. It's not. It's something that can be held up. It's something that can be made excuses of. Well, this is we can't do this because of that. We all know the problem. We just need to stop the boats and make it unattractive to come. Meaning, as soon as you land here illegally, you are back on a boat going back to France or wherever you come from. That is it. It'll just stop all this nonsense. And at the meantime, it's costing the British taxpayer God knows how much.
Yeah. But I mean, underpinning that is we can't, in terms of just sending people back, deporting them, as things stand now, Carl, you'll just get appeals on the basis of the European Convention on Human Rights. They'll go to the courts and they'll win every case.
Okay.
And so we need to leave the ECHR. Labour seems to think if we leave the ECHR, we'll abrogate all of our commitment to human rights. But we won't. We don't need Tony Blair's Human Rights Act, and we don't need to be a member of the ECHR to believe in human rights. We can come up with our own personal Bill of Human Rights. But Labour are obsessed with continuing to belong to this club, the ECHR club, that we formed in 1951. I don't know why they can't see the wood from the trees, get the hell out of that sclerotic organisation, and then we can make our own rules and pass our own sovereign laws.
Yeah, of course, Kev, but I remember listening a while back, and I'm sure there's other countries in Europe that are actually just deporting migrants regardless of the ECHR. I'm sure I've read that. I mean, we should. I mean, we're being invaded, and it is getting to a point where it may become even worse. A national emergency. It's out of hand.
Well, it is getting worse, Carl. It's getting worse by the day. It's getting worse and worse and worse. That's why I think she's felt she's had to come in with all these hardline suggestions. They're proposals, they're suggestions. Most of them need to be voted on in Parliament, so she's unlikely to get these through. But in the end, right now, because we're in the ECHR, we're not allowed to make our own sovereign decisions. So we might make a sovereign decision, then it goes to the European Court of Human Rights, and we can be overruled. So we can't, we don't, in the end, call the shots. A court in Strasbourg does. Well, we've got to end that. That is crazy.
Yeah, it is, Kev. It is. I don't understand why we're letting another country dictate what we can and can't do.
Yeah,
I just don't get that at all. This is our country. Surely the powers that be can make the rules for our own country, regardless of Strasbourg. The whole thing, it's just astronomically out of hand now, and we, the British taxpayers, I heard that caller on Jeremy Kyle earlier on today, the voice note, saying how unhappy everyone is and how we don't care. I actually stopped caring quite a long time ago, Kev. I actually just don't understand why these politicians don't feel like we feel as British taxpayers when we can see our streets, our communities.
Well, there's this weird mindset in Westminster among so many MPs, so many ministers, cabinet secretaries, that somehow or other the needs and the desires and the welfare of these foreigners who break into our country illegally is more important than the needs and the desires of the welfare and the welfare of the people who live here, the British citizens. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's two-tier justice is always in favour of foreigners and not in favour of British people. I mean, it should be. What I'm saying is it should be an even playing field for everyone. Everything should be the same, but it's not. They get prioritised and we get left in the wayside. We're second best all the time. That's what people, I think, feel. Carl, that's what they're worried about, that somehow or other British citizens are treated as second-class citizens and that the rights and needs of migrants and asylum seekers are more important than the rights and needs of people who live here.
It is, Kev, and that lady who left that voice, though, you can hear the anger in her voice. I can speak from myself. We can only be pushed so far as British, as the people of this country. And, there's you hear whispers of people wanting to, a civil war, we're being pushed such as... We are understanding to a point, and we can...
Yeah, but I think you're right, Carl. We're on the point of break. We're close to breaking point. We've had enough of this, and this latest plan isn't going to work, and we're sick of it. We want something to work. So good luck, Shabana Mahmood, but this isn't enough. We know that. Carl, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for an excellent call. Carl in Liverpool. After the news, it's Kinsey Schofield on the latest events on Planet Royal. So you don't want to miss this. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
welcome back. In about, probably 25 minutes time, taking your calls. 03444991000. Lots to talk about. Really want to get your take on what you think of Shabana Mahmood's hardline new policies about making it more difficult for migrants and asylum seekers to come here, to stay here. She wants to do things like cancel their automatic right to 50 quid a week benefit. She says they'll only get that if they need it. That's tough, isn't it? She's talking about not having an automatic right to bring their families over. Not a bad idea. That they won't be considered for citizenship for 20 years. I'm not sure that'll make much of a difference. And so on and so forth. Tough stuff. But can she get it through Parliament? Can she get it past her left-wing Labour MPs at the backbenchers? You heard them all lining up on the news to say how cruel and inhumane her plans to make life tougher for asylum seekers really are. They're really cruel, really unfair. We're not going to do that. So I doubt if she'll get them through. And if she doesn't leave the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, will be overruled every single time at the courts as well. So at the European Court of Human Rights. So it's not going to happen. We need to leave the ECHR, don't we, folks? 03444991000. Also, Donald Trump. Don't you think the BBC is going to have to pay him a lot of money? I mean, they can't keep saying we didn't defame him. They did defame him. There's no doubt about that. They've admitted they did wrong. They've admitted that tape was doctored to make it look as if he'd called for violent insurrection when he did nothing of the sort. So they've admitted their wrongness. Why do they think that they shouldn't have to pay him any financial compensation? Every other media outlet would have to. Why does the BBC think it has the unique right to lie about people? It doesn't, does it? 03444991000. I don't take any relish in it, but I think the BBC's bosses, bizarre, stupid, pompous, childish attitude to this. We're the BBC, we can't do anything wrong. He's horrible, Donald Trump. Well, that's all very well, but that isn't the real world, folks. And in the real world, he's going to take a lot of money out of the BBC. It could be a lot less if they'd have got real, if they'd have really apologised to him. They didn't apologise. They basically, it's human error. Error of judgment. No, it wasn't. It was a deliberate twisting of the truth, a deliberate doctoring of that speech to make it look like he said something that he didn't. That's not error of judgment. That is deliberate lying. They deliberately lied about the President of the United States of America, and I think they should pay the price. Why should they be exonerated? If it was a newspaper, if it was ITV, if it was Channel 4, Channel 5, they'd all have to pay. Sky, they'd all have to pay. Why does the BBC think that it uniquely should be allowed to tell lies about people, to liable people, and all they have to do is say sorry? No. Has to be more than that, doesn't it? 03444991000. Let me know what you think about the people around Crowborough in East Sussex who staged this big demonstration yesterday. How would you feel if suddenly the government said you're getting 600 young men, foreign men, are going to be living among you? You can understand why they're upset. They're putting in alarms in their houses. They're terrified for their kids, for their daughters. How would you feel about it? What should we be doing with these people? Maybe if they broke into our country illegally, as Rupert Lowe was saying to me, maybe they should just be deported back to wherever they came from. 03444991000. Let me know what you think. All right, before we get to you, though, it's time for our royal slot. A very important royal slot it is too. So a warm welcome to the show to the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Hi, Kev. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure. I missed you over the weekend, which was a shame because you were briefly back here in Britain, but you're back in the States now. And this story, because you and I discussed this before, really caught my eye. You remember when you and I were discussing about when Prince William, was down in Brazil for his in Rio de Janeiro, Sugarloaf Mountain, all that, for a very eye-catching sort of launch of his Earthshot prize. Beautiful background. You know, I've got my problems with his green claptrap obsession, but now is not the time to talk about that. He's very committed to this. He thinks it's not an abuse of his royal position to campaign for the planet. Some people would agree with him. I don't necessarily. However, that's not the point. He's down there doing good work. His good work. Getting all the headlines, quite rightly, because whatever you think about it, he's a hard worker. He's down there promoting something that he thinks is good for the planet. He's down there working hard, Suddenly, in the middle of this, Harry crops up and says, oh, by the way, I'm on my way to Canada for what he called Remembrance Tide, whatever the hell that is. He was going up for remembrance services with Canadians who'd served for the Brits during the war, during various wars, particularly the Second World War. So he was going up there to celebrate Remembrance Day, or Remembrance Week, if you like. Fair enough. But we all said, well, hang on a second, you know, why is he announcing this while William's down in Rio? It's because William's getting all the headlines, isn't it? It's typical of Harry and Meghan. If they see any members of the British royal family, particularly William or Catherine, the Princess of Wales, getting headlines, they always crop up and make some announcement to try and get the column inches back in their direction. So this one, we all went, well, why is he doing this? And then Harry's people said, well, what you don't understand, you see, is there's only a very small window of opportunity for us to make this announcement, so we had to make it now as a courtesy, you know, to tell Buckingham Palace that the Duke of Sussex will be making his way to Canada. It was a courtesy, and we had no other time we could have done it. You think,
well, you're missing a huge part.
Well, what I'm missing is that he didn't make the Palace didn't have the faintest idea. It looks like he's not telling the truth here.
Well, first of all, I reported this on Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered Friday. So thanks to everybody for watching. But I said this on Friday that Harry didn't ask the palace's permission. Yeah. Or didn't even give them this courtesy. But I mean, the real audacity was that when they were challenged about announcing this as Prince William lands in Rio, they used the excuse that he didn't have the same security as other working members of the British royal family, implying that he was a working member of the British royal family,
which is
not true.
Which he's not.
Then he gets to Canada and stands there and does an interview with CTV where he says, you know, I'm in the same venue that my aunt has been, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, again, just trying to remind us of that proximity to the British royal family. Here's another story that's currently developing. It's my understanding that the Prince and Princess of Wales are planning a trip to Australia.
Yeah, I heard about
Australians love William and Catherine. And, you know, lo and behold, a celebrity psychic who recently spent time with Harry and Meghan posted a letter with the royal monograms and everything from Harry and Meghan over the last few days, where they say that they will contact her when they get to Australia. So now Australia is losing their mind, saying, oh, we have a Harry and Meghan trip to look forward to. How convenient that the announcement that Harry and Meghan are looking forward to setting foot in Australia comes, you know, around the same cycle that we find out that William and Catherine are planning a trip to Australia. And Australia is such a weird place when it comes to Harry and Meghan, because Tom Bauer writes in Revenge that 2018 trip to Australia, Meghan Markle is so popular and loves the attention so much that this is when there's really a shift in her thinking, and she starts to say to Harry, we have the power to make our own rules. We have the power to tell the palace that they have to do things, you know, under our terms. She's so delusional because she's seeing all the comparisons to Princess Diana when she was in Australia, and Diana was received very well as well when she was in Australia, that she's determined to not have to be behind, you know, in William and Catherine's shadow anymore. And this is when we start to see Megxit really develop. And so I think that that's why this is important to the story that you're currently talking about. Australia is where the breakdown begins, and Harry and Meghan decide that they're not going to be behind William and Catherine, and you're seeing them fight that at every turn today, with Meghan telling us at the Fortune's Most Powerful Women event, I have a Christmas special coming out in November. And all of a sudden she announces it's just days before Catherine's Christmas Carol concert, December 3rd, with Catherine's Carol concert, December 5th. This is a pattern. It's a toxic pattern. It's an unhinged pattern. And we'd be absolute idiots not to acknowledge it and recognize it and call it what it is.
Yeah, they obsessively react every time. Well, almost the entire royal family do anything over here in Britain or around the world. Harry and Meghan somehow react. But when it's William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, with Harry and Meghan, there's a kind of obsession. Poor old Wills and Kate, they can't do anything without Meghan or Harry making some sort of retaliatory announcement. So going back to the Canada trip, I mean, this is the Times newspaper here, the very respected Times of London, has been trying to get to the bottom of what happened in terms of Harry's announcement in the middle of William's Brazil trip. I'm going to Canada. Oh, it was courtesy. We had to tell the palace. Well, the Times has been trying to get to the bottom of this. It's phoned Buckingham Palace. It's phoned Kensington Palace, trying to find out when it was that the Duke of Sussex...
well, no, and they've tried to contact Harry and Meghan's person, who I'd name drop right now, but I won't.
And
Harry and Meghan's person, who gleefully told everyone, no, we did tell the palace, has all of a sudden shut up and refuses to respond to everybody that's reached out to him on WhatsApp, saying, we want to know specifics. Was it an email? Was it a phone call? Was it a WhatsApp? Was it a text message? Who did you contact at the palace? And what did you tell them? And all of a sudden, Mr. You-know-who will not reply to anyone's messages.
Exactly right. So Buckingham Palace saying, we didn't get any courtesy warning from Prince Harry. Kensington Palace, we didn't get any courtesy warning. So, as you say, the Times quite rightly goes back to Harry's people. Well, who exactly did you tell as a courtesy about your trip to Canada? Who did you tell, as you say? Now they've gone into radio silence. They're not saying anything. So I don't think we're too cynical, are we, Kinsey, to basically believe here, we feel that Harry and Meghan, or Harry's been caught out in a little lie here.
No, I think that this is, you know, par for the course. They are trying to force a half-in, half-out visual because they are worthless without their association to the British royal family. The royal family said, we're not going to allow you to do that. And so we're seeing them run over the royal family and do it anyway. Whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Colombia, whether it's Canada, whether it's Australia, they're trying to force these visuals that make them look royal. And you know what? I know Harry was invited to Canada by an organization. I'd be curious to know if they are paying him for these appearances. That's what I'm, you know, most intrigued by. Is he just doing it for the positive press, which he temporarily does do, but in classic Harry and Meghan form, they turn around and do something idiotic that totally negates all the good work that they've done over the last few weeks? Or is somebody cutting a check for him to come? Is it pay to play? And now they're getting this fake royal, doing these fake royal engagements to generate positive headlines for their organization, which it does. I mean, even if Harry's your least favorite royal, people just want that association with royalty.
Exactly right. Well, let's move on to old Meghan. And as you say, she's starting to sort of trumpet, oh, I've got my my holiday special coming out of With Love Meghan. That's a dreary cooking show. 2 series so far. this Christmas special, seasonal special, we think will almost certainly be the last ever. I don't see it coming back, partly because Netflix have not extended their deal. And Netflix...
And Kev, did you see, you and I have reported for months, back and forth. I don't know, there was some hesitation from me after a while, but that Netflix was going to have her products in their pop-ups. They're not. If you look at the list of items, because the pop-ups have come to fruition, As Ever products are not there. Just to your point about how committed is Netflix really, we were told months ago that As Ever products would be featured in these pop-ups, and they're not there. They're mysteriously absent.
And we're starting to hear, Kinsey, and we'll talk about this in a second actually, that Meghan has very palpably been, shall we say, encouraging a relationship with Jeff Bezos, who is becoming more and more of a money man in Hollywood. So that's why she went to the Kardashians' party, because Jeff Bezos was hosting it. So more and more she wants to get close to him because he's got lots of money for productions. He's the producer, the financial backer of her new movie, Close Personal Friends. So she's more and more sidling up to Jeff, and we hear Netflix aren't thrilled about that, as you can imagine. Now, in terms of As Ever, a bizarre, very expensive online store where you can buy honey for $28 and dried flowers for $14 and so on and so forth. Well, and of course the new $64 candle, everybody's going to need one of those. Well, she's released a kind of Christmas promotional video for As Ever, and people say it's rather boring, beige and depressing. Let's have a quick look.
Okay, so for holidays, I love having a really cozy, warm beverage that everyone can enjoy. And you could do teas, but you could also do a hot toddy or a spiced cider. I like to make a big pot for everyone. It's so easy. All you do, boil some water, enough for 8 servings, 10 servings. Once it's at a boil, turn it down, take the entire contents, and let it steep in the pot. Now, what happens when you do this? When people come into your house, they go, "It smells so good. What is that?" And you go, "Oh my gosh, let me offer you a drink." And then I would just add a couple details here to just embolden the flavor a bit. Honey adds a really special note. Cinnamon stick is so nice in there as well. You smell the cinnamon, you smell that lemongrass. You could also add a spirit of choice to make it a little bit more grown up, but just on its own, it's the most soothing, especially in cold weather.
So this has been slammed online, on social media everywhere, Kinsey, as beige and depressing.
Well, no, that's not the right video. That's
that looks beige and depressing to me.
Yeah, in the beige and depressing video, she's hanging up stockings that are brown. They're not even red, and the argument is, and she's wearing a dark color, and the visuals are very dark, but she's hanging up multiple brown stockings, and you're saying this is the same woman that says that the British royal family held her back from color, that they stole color from her, and she's wearing this boring color. She's hanging up these brown stockings. There's nothing whimsical. There's nothing joyful. There's nothing fun. It's joyless, it's familyless, and it's colorless. And you're just thinking, what makes you an expert on this? I mean, this woman just uploaded an Instagram video that we just had to sit through where she taught us how to boil water for a beverage. Some of her other advice that she recently gave at a bookstore with a girlfriend who wrote a hosting book was that she takes her shoes and socks off and is barefoot when she opens the door so that her guests aren't intimidated by her. She also suggested leaving 8 mugs out the night before to shorten your to-do list if you plan on having guests over the night.
Sorry, Kinsey, let me just get a notebook and a pen, and if you could just repeat that could be very useful information for me. Hang on.
I mean,
so 8 cups out, and don't wear socks or shoes when you answer the doors.
Exactly.
Do you think this is it's just ridiculous?
It is. I mean, Meghan Markle and Netflix continue desperately to position her in a role she is not qualified for, and that's a beautiful example right there.
Exactly right. And don't forget, you and I have discussed this a couple of times. There's also a very handy advice on how to spread cream cheese onto bagels.
A pretzel. Pretzels in one plastic bag into another.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You take them out of their manufacturer's bag, put them into a plastic bag, put a ribbon around it.
Call it a gift.
And then stick it in people's bedrooms when they come and stay. I mean, everybody needs it, don't they?
Yeah, there's nothing I enjoy more than eating peanut butter pretzels in someone else's guest bed.
Yeah.
You know, like that is a priority for me, eating in my host's bed. No, I think that it all is absolutely ludicrous. And yeah, I mean, we've seen her hang out with the Paramount people. They did have a deal, or they were talking to Amazon before they secured their Netflix deal. They were supposed to do an Invictus Games live stream with Amazon. That opportunity was yanked away when they went over to Netflix. But I'm sure Netflix is disappointed with the outcome. The return on investment, some have argued, was there alone with that initial documentary, but they've not been impressed by anything that the two have created since then. Heart of Invictus, Polo, yada, yada, yada. I think that they've been pretty disappointed in what Harry and Meghan have brought to the table. And I think it looks like the ultimate betrayal for Meghan to then go do an Amazon MGM movie when Netflix gives her plenty of, pop culture. She's referenced in multiple pop culture series and movies on Netflix right now, that she could have popped up in little roles in those things. So, she's loyal to no one. Harry's loyal to no one. He's got his Dodgers cap on. He's trying to sabotage his brother's events. And I do not trust these two to teach me anything about warmth, love, family, and tradition when it comes to the holiday season.
Do we know what they're doing for the holidays? Will they be in Montecito, I assume?
I imagine. You know what I was just wondering, though? What happened to their Portugal estate?
That's an interesting question, yeah.
Like, when are they going to show up there? Why do they keep going to Australia and Canada? And, when are you going to go enjoy your new property that we've all been curious to know more about?
Exactly right. Well, listen, Kinsey, always really good to talk to you, and we'll talk again on Thursday. And thank you so much for your time. Always a winner. That's Kinsey Schofield, the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, with all the latest events on Planet Royal, or more to the point, Planet Harry and Meghan. Not going too well for old Andrew either, is it? Or Fergie. Did you see Fergie's had a children's book has been axed, taken off the shelves, because she's a bit of a liar as well. I like Andrew. They both like to lie about their friendship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. They both like to say, as soon as I realised he was a paedophile, I just cut off all contact. No, you didn't, you liars. Both of them said the same lie. I didn't talk to him ever again. Then they were both caught out sending him emails saying, oh, can we still be friends because you've got lots of money? They didn't actually say that, but that was the subtext. Listen, let's go to break. When we come back, I got lots of calls, I got lots of WhatsApp voice notes, and I've got lots of messages. So all of that still to come. Also, special announcement tonight. It's not Harry Cole Saves the West. At 10 p.m, I will be handing over directly to Petri Hoskin, who will take you through from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. into the small hours. So slightly different lineup tonight. But in the meantime, 35 minutes to go. Your calls, your messages, your WhatsApp voice notes. Let's do it.
when Reform announced policies that were milder than Shabana Mahmood is confirming today in the House of Commons, we were deemed racist and bigots. But now the current Home Secretary can announce it, and apparently that's all fine. The pure hypocrisy of this desperate Starmer regime in its bunker in number 10. But I think maybe Shabana Mahmood has, maybe she's actually now in the wrong party. Maybe she needs to cross the floor.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just a little bit of breaking news. President Donald Trump has backed the release of all the Epstein files. I'm trying to get my head around why they've only been dripped out bit by bit. I've never quite been able to understand that. Well, Donald Trump now is backing the release of all of them, every single one of the Epstein files. Do you think that'll be good for him? Or will it be bad for him? Who will it be bad for? Trump seems to suggest it would be very, very bad for Bill Clinton for a kickoff. Who else might it be bad for? 03444991000. Let's go to the phones. Oh, it's Georgina time. Let's talk to the great Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm okay. Well, you want to talk about Shabana, do you?
I do. I mean, you know, we've heard it all before, Kevin. Shabana Mahmood, like the rest of the Labour Party, doesn't have the political will to stop the ever-increasing invasion of economic migrants.
That's what I think.
If she was serious, they'd have started making plans to pull us right out of the ECHR. There's no reason why we should be in it, Kevin. We're a sovereign country. We make our own laws.
I'll tell you what I always say, Georgina, to people who think we should stay in the ECHR. I mean, I can't work out why people would want to. But my question is always this. What exactly do we get out of being a member of the European Convention on Human Rights? What is the advantage to Britain? What do we get out of it? I can't think of anything.
We get a load of headaches and a load of unwanted migrants. That's what we get.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the Labour Party are in the death throes. We know that. And all she's done is plagiarise policies from other political parties and tailor them to herself to give us yet more political spin and put us yet again in the promised land. You know, what we want is the policy of all out, none in. And until we get this, the problems that we have in the UK, the rapes, the child assaults, the knife attacks, the murders, they're all going to continue and exacerbate. The
Totally
Labour Party
right.
are either... The Labour Party, Kevin, are either blind, incompetent, just plain delusional, or all three. If they think that this kind of cultural cohesion is at all beneficial to us, our country, or our economy, economic migrants are bleeding us dry and going through our reserves like a plague of locusts. We can't sustain this expenditure. When are they going to realise this? These economic migrants contribute nothing to our economy, our culture, or indeed our national security. They are, in point of fact, a huge liability. Everyone can see this. And we're now in a serious crisis as we don't know who they're letting into our country, and we're all unsafe. And yet the government still keep gaslighting us with yet more promises, lies, and they have no intention of keeping them.
Well, I don't think they can. As long as we're in the ECHR, we can't make our own sovereign laws, our own sovereign decisions. So it's all very well for Shabana Mahmood to come out with some of these reasonably good ideas, but how's she going to get them implemented? She won't get them through her left-wing backbench MPs, Labour MPs. They won't vote for this, so she won't get it through. And also, in the end, you know, all of these decisions can be reversed if they go to the European Court of Human Rights. So we need to get out of that, and yet they won't do this. So they are addicted to being in the ECHR for no apparent reason. As long as they are, we are stuck. We will never solve this migrant crisis. Leaving the ECHR, Georgina, is only the first step. It will not automatically solve our crisis, our problem, but it is the essential first step. If you don't do that, there's no chance.
No, not at all. And Kevin, honestly, I can imagine when Shabana Mahmood, if she does, and I don't think she will, say that we're going to leave the ECHR, there will be.
Well, she won't. No. Labour will never leave the ECHR. They never will.
So there's no chance. If they're not going to do that, there's no chance of getting any farther forward with this problem.
Absolutely. I've got one last question for you. See, so she said, oh, we're going to get tough. We won't. They'll lose their automatic right to benefit welfare payments. They'll have to wait 20 years till they can be considered for citizenship. We'll have a look at Articles 3 and 8 of the ECHR. All very, you know, sensible. Why not? You know, but here's my question. Here's what I would say. One other thing. From now on, Britain, the British taxpayer, does not pay the legal fees of asylum seekers. When they come here and they claim asylum, they pay for their own case. We don't pay for it anymore. That would, I think, put the cat among the pigeons, don't you?
Absolutely, but we shouldn't just not be paying for the legal fees. I mean, that is throwing salt on a very open wound to every taxpayer in this country, let me tell you. We shouldn't be paying for anything, nothing. They should be coming to our country and being put on a hovercraft and going straight back from whence they came.
A hovercraft, I think they decommissioned them, but I take your point, Georgina. Very good. Listen, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks again for another fantastic phone call. That's Georgina from London, the great Georgina. Let's go to Victor in Bedfordshire. Hello, Victor. What would you like to say?
No, I think that the idea that claiming asylum doesn't guarantee permanent residence.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds good in theory, but I think when someone's been here
19 years or something, we try and get them out.
It's going to be, well, she said up to 20 years.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is, it's like 20 years is supposed to be this magic milestone after which you can become a citizen. But say somebody gets in trouble on their 19th year, we're not going to throw them out. And by the way, while you're on that subject, Victor, I think it's a very good point. The other announcement she made was that asylum seekers, as you say, they'll be, the permanence of their residency will be removed, and that, I think she said, every 3 years we'll re-examine the nature of their countries. Are their countries still war-torn, ravaged by war? Is there still torture there? That kind of thing. You know, that's just not going to happen, isn't it? And I heard, by the way, listen to this, I heard this, if we did that, the bureaucratic cost of this country every year would be nearly £900 million, best part of £1 billion. So it's just more bureaucracy, and we won't do it, will we? Who's going to determine, I don't know, whether or not Sudan is still war-torn, or the Yemen, or Syria? Who's going to decide? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that after 10 years, a lot of these people, especially from the Middle East and Africa, will probably have children.
Yeah.
They'll found a way that, what are they going to do in the meantime? They're not going to just sit in a detention centre.
Well,
they're going to be allowed to work. So the more time goes on, the harder it will be to deport them.
I don't think they can't work until they get granted asylum, can they?
Yeah. So who's going to support them?
Well, we are, because most of them get benefits, don't they? Yeah.
But also, there's another point. The problem starts within Europe and within the so-called free travel zone. the Schengen zone.
Yeah.
They're not the European Union is at fault for not deporting the thousands of people wandering around Europe, looking for somewhere.
Wandering through Europe on their way to the north coast of France, Calais, so they can get on small boats and come over to Britain. That's why they're wandering around Europe. They're making their way north so they can get onto a dinghy and head for the promised land, the land of plenty, as in Britain.
But they're not being deported. They wouldn't come here if the European Union was.
Well, no, exactly. But the European Union won't do it. Bunch of lefties, aren't they? They're never going to do that. But nor do we. We don't deport them either. We allow them to break our laws, come into this country illegally. And what do they get for breaking our laws, crossing the channel illegally, breaking into our country? They get a 4-star hotel, free food, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, free driving lessons, free trips to the zoo, free everything. That's what they get for breaking our laws. The system is crazy, Victor.
Those on the left, I heard it today, who are against anything, like what they don't seem to understand is that there are millions of people wanting to come here. It's not just thousands; it's millions.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the migration from Central Africa and the Middle East continues apace. They're still piling over the Mediterranean to Greece and Italy, and then making their way, most of them, towards Calais so they can come to the promised land, the stupid country that gives them everything. It's mad, Victor. It is mad. But thanks for a good call, Victor in Bedfordshire there. Let's go to break. More calls when we come back. I'll read some of your messages as well. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go back to the phone. So, I'll read a couple of messages. This is from Paul in Westcliff on Sea. This new load of asylum nonsense from Labour is just a big distraction tactic to stop you and everyone else talking about Richard III's upcoming shambles of a budget. I think by Richard III, Paul means Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts. A lot of people say she looks a bit sort of medieval haircut. I think that's what that's all about. Richard III is also in Cockney rhyming slang, so it kind of works in that respect as well, doesn't it? But Paul is talking about the upcoming budget. I think there's an element of that. you know, to try and, you know, what do they call it? The dead cat tactic. Swing a dead cat in the room and everybody will stop talking about everything else. So, yes, the new asylum measures, or the alleged measures, the new migrant crisis measures, will distract us briefly from the budget, but that's coming up soon and that will dominate. And this migrant initiative won't last for long, because it's not happening. You know, it's all very well to announce all this stuff, get some nice headlines, but it's not happening. It has to go through Parliament, and it won't go through Parliament. So in the end, it's just a load of chit-chat that will make the headlines. Nothing is actually happening. And you're right, Paul, when we get to the budget, man, that's going to be something else. That really is. This is from Michael in Islington. He says, it's common for me to say F the French. Just look at two patriots who bashed a boat showed how to do it. It's easy and the government don't want to take care. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but there you are. Ernie, I looked into why we give asylum seekers legal aid, and apparently it's compulsory for all countries to give basic legal assistance to anyone seeking asylum. Yeah, but it's not. I bet it's not. It's not compulsory for us to pay for it. We could say, here's the lawyers. You know, we've got these lawyers, they'd be great for you. Now write a check. You know, I think we should stop paying for that. It's the maddest thing we pay for. You know, oh, here's a load of money. You've broken into our country illegally. Here's a load of money to fight your case to stay. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous. Here's Peter Savage. He says, would love to see some of these BBC officials getting cross-examined by American lawyers, the likes of Trey Gowdy et al. That would be ripped a new one. They would be ripped a new one. Well, yeah, I mean, and this, a lot of this narrative, this debate revolves around, will this case happen in America? BBC saying, well, the show wasn't screened in America. Yeah, but everything gets screened all over the world now, YouTube, social media. So I think that's kind of dubious. But anyway, even if lawyers rule you can't do it here, or you can't do it in America, Donald Trump will do it here. So what's the difference? Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Janice in Essex. Hello, Janice.
Hiya, lovely to speak to you again. I've missed you.
Yeah, hi. How you doing, Janice? Yeah, good to have you on the show.
Okay.
Go on.
Look, this silly woman, what silly ideas has she got? They're going to come up. They've run out of ideas now, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think she's.
Look at page 13.
Yeah.
All the stuff that she said. Look at page 13 of what she's written, and they have a right to say. So all what she's saying is a load of old toss. Let's throw Angela Rayner in the ring. What on earth is going on? She cannot be a PM. Oh, for goodness sake, please.
I'll tell you, well, look, Janice, it could be worse than that. It could be Ed Miliband.
Oh, my God, no, I'll die. I'll go and commit harikari.
Probably all would if he gets in.
Oh, my God.
But, I mean, the thing is, Janice, that's the way... that's the direction of travel. That is that they will get rid of Starmer, maybe by Christmas, probably in my view just after the May local elections. Well, they'll get rid of him. They'll get rid of him, and then he will be replaced by somebody even more left wing. Well, it will be Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband. I'm telling you.
Oh my God. I think we'll all go to Davos then, won't we?
Yeah, let's all go to Davos, anywhere other than Britain if they get in. But you're right about Shabs's new measures. She won't get them through. They won't happen.
We've got to fight. We're going to do what Trump said. Fight, fight, fight.
Yeah.
We've got to fight for our country.
That's a bit controversial, but yes, you're exactly right. Yeah. You're right, Janice.
He didn't say it, so there you go.
Yeah, well, he did say it, but not in the way that Panorama pretended he said it. Janice, great call as always. Thank you very much, Janice in Essex. We've got time to go to... let's go. All right, let's talk to Grace, then we need to do another break after that. Hi, Grace.
Hi,
Hi. With regard to this mosque and the fun run, you mentioned Me Too, and then you mentioned the law of the land, and I just thought, actually, the Me Too movement didn't start in our land.
Well, no, but it spread to our land, yeah.
Yeah, but my point is that the problem with them banning women from this run is not just what we do here in Britain or what our law is or what our norms are.
Yeah.
It's actually what is right and wrong fundamentally.
Well, that should be what laws are about, to enforce the fundamental rights and wrongs of existence, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know you think I'm mad for being a Christian, but
that's to mischaracterise my.
One of the things.
You're a Christian, Grace, and I'm not. I respect your Christianity, of course.
I mean, historically, there was misogyny in the Roman Empire, but then we had this idea come again from another place, whereby actually people started to believe that God had made all human beings, and therefore we're all valuable. We all have worth. We're not lesser because we're female, in my case.
Of course you're damn not. That's my point. The point is that what the East London Mosque was doing in advertising this fun run for charity, a fun run for God's sake, by saying everybody's welcome. They didn't, they tried to make it this really come one, come all, lovely event. They just stuck in this caveat that if you're a woman over the age of 12, you cannot participate. Well, they found out, Grace, that is against the law in Britain.
So I have to say, all women are over the age of 12. Say women over the age of 12 kind of sounds like there could be some women who are under the age of 12.
Well, you see what I mean. Females, then. Females.
Yeah, but I mean, some people say things like, oh, my truth and your truth, and that's nonsense. There's just the truth.
Yeah, but in this respect...
I think that the idea of cultural relativism, where we think, well, we have to respect this because that's their culture. Actually, some things are right and wrong, and we need to think about what we believe and why, and not put cultural customs and traditions above human value and the inherent worth.
Yeah, but it is a little simpler than that, Grace. I mean, I take your point philosophically, but it is a little simpler than that. Quite simply, the East London Mosque, by banning women over the age, or females over the age of 12, was breaking British law. And they've now been told you can't ever do that again. It's just a law question. I mean, there are other aspects of this to discuss, but basically, in the end, by banning women from this race, this fun run, they were breaking the law, and they found that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to think seriously about how we keep on caring about human beings and not just moving towards this idea whereby these people do things this way and these people do things this way. We need to have things that we fundamentally hold to be true, such as that females don't deserve to be given a lesser status.
Yeah, and what's disconcerting, Grace, is that the people at this mosque didn't quite understand that. They do now. But it's quite disconcerting that they have to be informed of this. Sorry, that you cannot discriminate against women because they're women. You just can't do that in this country. And I'm glad they've learned their lesson. But as I say, it is worrying that there are people in this country who don't quite understand that. Grace, by the way, as I say, I respect your Christianity. I said I wasn't a Christian. Technically, I am. I'm a member of the Christian faith. It's just I'm not much of a believer. You might have worked that out. Grace, though, very good to talk to you as always. Grace in London there. Let's go to break. More calls when we come back.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, listen, we made a lot of play last week about foreign aid. I think, what is it we send? I think it's about £9 billion. It used to be £12 billion abroad. All the time to help, you know, the Ethiopians form their own Spice Girls band. We're getting £5 million for that. Juggling and dancing in Tanzania. And so on and so forth. Giving up smoking in Guatemala. And of course £110 million to Pakistan to help them with their family planning programme. In other words, £111 million for contraceptives to Pakistan. We also sent, I think it was, I'm trying to remember now, about £19 million to Pakistan to help them with their child sex abuse problem. Whereas you might think we should spend that on our child sex abuse problem. We've got a massive problem in that respect. Rape gang scandal and all that, and yet we're sending money abroad. So all of this, I think, is crazy. Tomorrow, Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, will pledge to cut foreign aid by 70%. And also to strip foreign nationals of benefits. So I'm not sure what the details of stripping the foreign nationals of benefits, but if it's asylum seekers, various people who don't have the right to be here, then I'm all for it. The only thing I would, and Nigel Farage is right, cut foreign aid. I would think about cutting it by 100%, though. You know, given that we are, you know, assailed by a terrible cost of living crisis, why are we sending all this money abroad? 03444991000. Let's quickly, Petri Hoskin will be in a second to tell you what she's got lined up for your entertainment from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. But let's take a quick call from Roy in Hampshire. Hi, Roy.
Hello, Kev, mate. I just want to wish the lads tomorrow best of luck, mate, with their demonstration outside Parliament against this Labour Party that's sending us to the dogs, mate.
Well, any demonstration against this Labour government, I'm all for. So couldn't agree with you more, Roy. Thanks for a good call. There's Roy in Hampshire, and Petri Hoskin is coming in. It's been our first handover, we call them handovers in the trade, for about 10 years, because usually it's Harry Cole saves the West. Harry's not saving the West tonight, so the West is obviously in massive trouble. But Petri Hoskin is in the studio. Hi, Petri.
Yeah, he's not saving the West all next week either. Monday, Tuesday.
What's the West going to do if Harry's not saving it?
I don't know. It's a disaster. Clearly, I'm going to
Right, what have you got coming up on your show, Petri?
I'm going to be picking up on the new asylum policy reforms, and at midnight, that's the talkback hour where people get the chance. It's a full hour of just phoning in, so I want lots of voices on this. Is it too little too late? Will it actually ever work? Will the backbenchers ever fall in line with this? All of those things, and what do you make of the reforms?
Right.
Also, this is a particular one for me. This this pretend honour, this stolen honour, these people pretending to be veterans
you mean this
of
guy?
war.
Okay, isn't that a weird syndrome?
It's really common, and in America
isn't it?
and in America they take it really seriously. It's a
Well, we
federal
do here,
criminal
though.
offence. No, we don't. There's no criminal offence.
Is that not right?
There's no criminal offence. There are other things they can be fined with, but there's no actual criminal offence about stolen valour. There is in the US.
So you could contrive some sort of
Yeah,
offence,
if you-
going equipped to defraud or something.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
there's no
particular specific crime.
Well, there should be, shouldn't
there? Absolutely should be, because these men and women earn those medals and they earn the respect that
it's
they
very
get.
important. I
Yeah,
totally
incredibly
agree.
important.
Did you see that there was that copper recently who lost his job? He was a chief constable.
Pretended to be in the he was in the Navy, but
he pretended he was in the Falklands, where he was in fact only about 13 at the time of the Falklands War. And now we've got another case, right?
It's really pathetic.
I think that's
stolen
a very...
valour is disgusting.
Yeah. Stolen valour, yeah.
Stolen valour. That's what it's called in the US. They're known as Waltz in the British Army. Walter Mitty's. They're known as
Walter
Waltz.
Mitty's, yeah.
They're called Walt. He's a Walt. And then, of course, we're going to be looking at this incredible U-turn by Donald Trump with the Epstein files, and why has he suddenly decided